Hello, and welcome to the Butterfly Method. By purchasing this program, you have demonstrated a desire to permanently eliminate anxiety from your life, and I'm going to help you do that. First, you have to realize that everybody on earth feels some kind of stress or anxiety, whether it's a mild worry or a full-blown panic attack, so you're not alone. Second, millions of people have been able to rid their lives of anxiety without drugs and without costly trips to the psychiatrist. If they can do it, so can you. And this program is going to help you do that. Many of you have heard of the phenomenon, the butterfly effect, or maybe you've seen the movie. In short, the butterfly effect means a small action can lead to a huge reaction. For example, a butterfly can flap its wings in Buenos Aires and cause a monsoon in India. Or, as we're showcasing in this program, small changes in your daily routine can have monumental effects on your life, especially when dealing with stress and anxiety. A change in habits means a change in your life, a life free of anxiety and panic. The Butterfly Method is a step-by-step approach to managing stress and anxiety by making small changes in your daily life that will yield enormous results. With me on our journey is Shay, the foremost expert on the Butterfly Method. Thank you very much for joining us, Shay.
Good to see you again, Josh.
You too. So, in my reading of the Butterfly Method, one of the things that really jumped out at me was that stress and anxiety were supposed to be a good thing for me, which I found pretty surprising. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. You're not alone. A lot of people think it's surprising, but it's true. Stress and anxiety are our body's natural response to external and internal stimulus. It's actually part of our DNA and goes all the way back to a time when humans were living in vastly different living conditions where they needed a little bit of help to deal with these threatening life scenarios. And so stress and anxiety actually helped our caveman ancestors to survive.
How did it help them survive?
If our early ancestors were being chased by a bear or fell into a rushing cold water or any number of legitimate life or death scenarios, this is when the stress or anxiety would kick in and elevate our performance so that we could evade this life or death scenario.
Oh, is that anything like the fight or flight reaction?
That's exactly what it is. Okay. So here's what happens. Your body releases adrenaline. Adrenaline gets pumped into your system, which raises your heart rate, which makes you breathe faster, and all of that helps you either jump higher, run faster, or think more clearly. And this helps us evade our predator or our enemy or this dangerous situation. On top of it, we also release endorphins into our system, which is like a natural painkiller. So if you are getting hurt, cut, or any kind of danger is happening to you, you still have the strength to keep going and fight through it so that you can ultimately survive. Nowadays, we don't really have those life-threatening scenarios. Unless you're a soldier or a police officer, life's pretty easy.
I'm not complaining.
What's not awesome about that is our DNAs are virtually identical to that of our caveman ancestors. So what ends up happening is we still react to everyday stressors like we're being chased by a lion or like we're being, in a deadly blizzard. So something as nominal as planning a wedding or going on a job interview, we end up with way too much stress and anxiety to help us accomplish something that's really nominal.
Back before I was married to my beautiful wife, I used to go out on first dates and feel a tremendous amount of anxiety. I would get dry mouth and sweaty palms. My heart would beat out of my chest. My armpits would sweat. It was horrible.
We're confusing anxiety with fear because way back when, that's where it all stemmed from. Our ancestors weren't thinking about, am I going to get a 401k plan? Am I going to get that corner office? Does my shirt match my tie? No. They were thinking more along the lines of, do you think I'm going to eat today before the snow melts? Or, hey, I'm kind of in this gully and there's a buffalo stampede coming my way. Are we all going to get out? Am I getting my whole family out? So their anxiety was more fear-based, whereas now we don't have that. And so that's the root of our anxiety. It comes from fear, which now translates into panic.
Wait. So are you just saying that panic is an overreaction by your body?
That's exactly what it is. Panic is your body's inappropriate response, or another terminology for that is an unmeasured response.
So when I travel, I get really stressed out, like really stressed out. I'm afraid I'm gonna forget something, or what if I miss my flight or something goes wrong?
Hands are sweaty.
Everything, yeah, all the symptoms.
So these are all perfectly normal, but what's happening is it sounds like you have a trigger to something about travel. You've had a bad experience and it's coming forward. So what's happening here is maybe you forgot something really critical in your past and it really disrupted your travel. And so your caveman brain now is overreacting, and it's actually giving you the response that you would need if you were being chased up a mountain by a wild animal.
My wife can pack in 15 minutes, but I stress out about it for days.
So have you ever missed a trip or not gone because your anxiety was so great?
No, I always make it. Nothing ever goes wrong.
So you're actually really lucky, because some people, their panic drives them into a state where they just can't control what happens to their body, and they really just can't even function.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, let's use you for example. When you think about traveling, there's a trigger that starts your body to pump all of this adrenaline into your system. And what ends up happening is, if you were a caveman, that extra adrenaline, which is kind of like having 4 cans of an energy drink, okay, helps you to run faster, your heart rate's pumping, you can take in more oxygen, and you can invade that life-threatening situation. However, in your Manhattan apartment, you don't need that much adrenaline to help you pick out your fun socks there.
Thank you. I'm glad you noticed them, actually.
I did. I like them. Now, on top of all that adrenaline, you also have something called cortisol. Cortisol skyrockets in your system, and that increases your blood sugar. It makes it spike. That stimulates your central nervous system, which is also helping you to stay more focused and sharp, which is, again, extraordinarily beneficial to help our caveman ancestors get out of the predicament that they're in. But like I said again, it's not really going to help you running around in your Upper West Side apartment. You don't need all that cortisol and adrenaline.
So it's too much.
That's exactly what it is. It's too much. It's an overreaction. It's unmeasured. You're not running away for something life-threatening. You're not a caveman. So it's too much. And that's what drives people into a state of panic or a panic attack.
So what happens in a panic attack?
So some people are more prone to environmental or emotional stressors. Combine that with a disproportional response and severe anxiety results. So if a person can't handle anxiety and the hormones and the physical reactions, a panic attack will occur.
So what are the physical symptoms of a panic attack?
Okay, some of the common symptoms of a panic attack are going to be an abnormal or rapid heartbeat, high blood pressure, headache. You're going to have stiff neck and shoulders. It's also going to go to your back, sweating, nausea, diarrhea, and upset stomach. You can also get an exacerbated form of asthma, which is also called COPD. And you'll feel some chest pain, and after all of that, you're going to be riddled with a lot of fatigue.
That sounds terrifying.
It can be. Some people actually freeze and can't talk at all, which kind of reminds me of a client I had. He was charming, personable, likable, brilliant, but when it came to job interviews, he just froze. He would have a full-blown panic attack. And there was this one time where he had a job interview, a really great job in Silicon Valley, and he was sitting there in the waiting room, and they weren't quite ready for him, so he was just, sitting there like marinating in anxiety, and it got to a point where he couldn't handle it, and they had to call 911.
Really?
Not kidding.
Wow, so how does that end up happening? I mean, I get really nervous when I travel, but how does somebody get so anxious that you actually have to call an ambulance?
So while the fight or flight response is automatic in our DNA, the triggers to these responses are still learned, and they can be learned from a variety of exposures and experiences we had. And what ends up happening is your brain creates neuroconnections, think like telephone lines or fiber optics, to stimulus that affect us. And they create the trigger of the release of hormones such as adrenaline, cortisol, testosterone, endorphins, dopamine. And all of that is too much. And throughout your life, you experience all kinds of experiences. And your brain creates a mapping of your emotional circuits, and that's called neuroplasty.
So neuroplasty is like your brain building roads between your experiences and the automatic release of chemicals in your body.
That's really exactly what happens. I'm going to borrow that.
Okay.
So basically, it's your body mapping fear and panic to a very specific stimulus. Okay, so we're going to try something. You ready?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, check my hand. Oops, gotcha.
God, I didn't think they even made those.
Hand buzzers? Yeah, you can get anything online these days.
That was stronger than I thought it would be.
I know, right? All right, we're going to do something else.
Okay.
Call my sound guy. Justin, come on in. Go ahead, meet Justin. Justin, this is Josh. Say hello.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Thanks, we're good. Okay, do you see how quickly that happened? So I fooled you once, and literally 30 seconds later, your mind is already mapping and creating a weary about shaking my hand or anybody I suggest. See how that worked out? So imagine if you grew up with a dog that nipped you. You know, every now and again, you get like a little nip. After 10, 11 years of this going on, your brain's going to form a type of mapping that's going to condition you towards a negative response to your dog. Eventually, it's not just going to be your dog, it's going to grow to the same breed of dog. Then it may even grow to all dogs, that you finally get to a point where you see a Chihuahua and your brain insists that you're being chased by like a Doberman.
So your brain is just basically trying to protect you.
That's exactly what it's doing. Your brain is all about protecting you. That's its job. So when you're hurt in some way, your brain tries to seek out a way to ensure that you don't get hurt by triggering, unbeknownst to you, unconscious negative responses. And then what it does, it's really smart, it tries to find out other scenarios that are similar, recognize them, pool them all together, and also trigger this unconscious negative responses in a way of, again, protecting you.
And I take it that is where we get into trouble.
Exactly. So what happens is your brain now tries to identify everything that's similar to your dog nipping you in order to protect you. And so your brain over time generalizes phobias to the point where you can no longer identify what the initial event was that created the phobia.
Oh, so you hear somebody say, I had a panic attack out of nowhere. And it's because there was a series of events, but really the thing that triggered it has nothing to do with the primary reason why they had that anxiety.
Right. Now, don't forget, it's not just a stimulus. You can also get panic attacks or anxiety based on your body's physical state. So if you have imbalances in your body's chemistry or a unique physiology, bad posture, bad breathing, lack of sleep, bad nutrition, bad microflora, bad health, any combination of that, that's actually the core of the butterfly method. So if you change even just one small thing, you could drastically reduce or even eliminate the anxiety or panic in your life forever. Would you ask me? That sounds like a pretty good way to live. Just saying.
I agree wholeheartedly.
All right, let's do this.
Let's do it.